What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Marvel's Avengers. That's right, the game is coming to Game Pass finally. I know a lot of people were saying, like, it's about time, or this was bound to happen, at some point. And I agree. I think this is a real good move. I want to talk about that in this video. I also want to talk about, if this is going to work. Because, look, I think at the end of the day, we have, weirdly enough, I feel we have enough evidence to kind of show what's happened and what probably will happen. I know when somebody says like the game's dead or the game will die, that's a very bold, it's a big, like, I guess not big word in terms of like how many letters, but like when you say a game is literally going to die, like that's quite a statement, especially to people that like the game, right? But I do think there's enough out there to kind of show how the game has happened. And the game pretty much, right, we know it was good at launch in terms of how many people. It fell off a cliff. It never really recovered ever besides key moments, and those key moments are whenever a new hero comes to the game, you'll see a uptick. Now, obviously, and I hope this is obvious, right? You're never going to see it match the original, like the first week, unless there's like some sort of free-to-play, like massive resurgence. We've seen that with games, just actually very, like Rust is a good example, right? Just all these random games. Sometimes they beat kind of their opening week, but for the most part, that'll never happen. So they go up a little bit when a hero comes out. They'll stay that way for like a week, and then they collapse again and are pretty much, non-existent. Now, yes, we really only have those numbers for like the Steam stuff. You can, I think, translate it over to consoles. I know some people are going to say, no, you can't. I guess that's just a disagreement. That's okay to have that disagreement, but I just feel that's the case. I think there is enough statistical data for lots of other games to show that is also, the case just as well. Then you had, in terms of this Game Pass, why is the Game Pass such a big thing? When the game went free to play, and I believe now that I think that, well, I know it happened once. I feel like it happened twice, but you guys will have to correct me if I'm wrong. But when it went free to play, the numbers were incredible. Okay, now again, we're not talking numbers of like the first couple days the game released, but we're talking numbers that at least look respectable. You know what I mean? Like they look pretty good. There is a base playing the game, and that's all great. You know what I mean? And that's what we had when it was free to play. And then obviously that ended, and that completely collapsed as well. So here we are. So I guess the question is, can Game Pass do it? Can it, I guess, replicate? So it's only on Game Pass. Now, I guess with Game Pass, though, because of like the PC mobile stuff right now, so you can play it on Xbox, you can play it on PC, and I guess technically you can play it on your phone. Now that opens up, pretty much now you just can't play it for free on PlayStation. So, this is kind of it. And I know, again, like I hate saying that. I have never really been, I guess after like the first month of this game, I've never really been on this game's side, I guess, in supporting the idea that it could last long term. I think they wanted it to last long term, but I don't really think it was built or designed properly to do that in terms of repetitiveness, raids, bosses, heroes, and how often they come out. Just things that generally improve the game big time, being a constant, right? Constantly coming out. None of those things were really existent, and I would still argue that they're not, but that's just my opinion, and if you don't agree, that's okay. But the point is, I think we've seen it over the past year. The game flourishes the best it can. You know what I mean? And sure, I'm going to take my shots at this game every, chances that I get. But, ultimately, the game is what it is. It's got the people that like it. It's got the people that don't like it. And I do think there is a middle area of people that would be willing to try it or would play it as a free-to-play thing but wouldn't play. Now, I guess what I'm hinting at is this. Again, to kind of take a couple shots at it, but it's just my opinion. If you don't agree, it's fine. What I would see is I still don't think this is a game that actually works as a free-to-play title. What I mean by that is, again, what I kind of just said a few minutes ago. I think if you have this game go completely free-to-play, that's great. That's a great starting point, and I do think factually you would get people. But the thing is, like all free-to-play games, you need content. You need the game to really embrace it. And I'm not saying that couldn't happen. I think it very well could happen. I just don't think it would happen. Does that make sense? I think the way, actually, you look at it, now Crystal Dynamics, it's a pretty big team, but again, as I've constantly said, when the game came out, like a month or two later, they moved most of the team off of Marvel's Avengers. Now, you have Crystal Dynamics helping Microsoft make Perfect Dark. So, I'd love to know, and I don't think this number is known. If you guys know the number, tell me. I would like to know how many people are still actually working on Marvel's Avengers. Is it 100 people? Is it 30 people? I mean, where is it? I think it's on that lower end. I really do think it's like a couple dozen, and that's kind of it. Maybe 30, 40 people, and that's pretty much all they got. So is that group enough to keep this game? Yeah, so I get what you could probably come at me in the comments. You leave your dislike as always, and then in the comments you say you're still being mean to the game. I guess I am, because I look at it as a positive, right? I guess ultimately I don't care, because I don't really play the game. I will play the game again for Spider-Man, so I guess I have no real stakes in the battle. However, I'm not actively rooting for the game to fail. You know what I mean? If people like the game, and I know there's people of my channel that play the game, that's fine. You know what I mean? Then I want the game to last as long as it can. The issue is Game Pass, great. You know, more people I do think are going to play it, but I wonder how long they stay. One thing we don't really know, right, is will you keep those numbers over time? So that's and maybe that's too statistical for some people, but honestly, for me, that's the most interesting thing. Like these free-to-play weekends, because that's kind of what they are, right? They're 2, 3, 4 day spans of time that people will play it. They're nice numbers. They're good, right? And ideally and probably they would stay that way for at least a little bit longer if it was long term. Now we get the chance to see it, because you can't see it if it's just 2, 3 days free to play and then you have to pay for it again. Well, obviously those numbers are going to go down. But if it's free to play for like 2 months straight, do we see a huge uptick? And then does it keep going up? Does it peak and then like stay at the peak? Does it completely fall off the edge at some point, right? So say you have, and again, I guess this is like PC terms, but let's pretend, right? Say you have 10, 15,000 people that are playing it daily. Does it keep going? Does it stop at like 10 to 15? Or after maybe 1 to 2 weeks, does that 10 to 15 drop to like 7, 6, 5? Does it still go down because the game still, in my opinion at least, and again, that's kind of why I want to see it, right? Because it would be a wider audience that we'd be able to see how they react. How do people view this game? Is it actually a good free-to-play game? Is there enough stuff in there? And that's kind of the thing. Actually, I'm one of the better, I would say, examples of, at least to my point, at least how I view it, right? Because I played this game every single day for 4 weeks straight. That's just the truth. I mean, I have people that are witnesses to that act that probably wish that I didn't play the game that much, but I did that, and I stopped. Eventually, I stopped. So, and that's how I see the game, is eventually there is kind of a stopping point. So I wonder how it's going to go. So it is good for the game. There's zero doubt about it. It really can do nothing but help it. It's just I wonder if it's going to help it as much as, maybe we think it could have. Now we get to see, right? Can it actually do it? Because ultimately, yeah, I still think the game only succeeds past the end of this year if it's a free-to-play game. And that's actually how I viewed this game for after like the first month of it, is that this game really only succeeds. It could survive like this, I guess, but do you really call this surviving? It would succeed, as a free-to-play thing. But actually, how long would it succeed as a free-to-play thing? Would it actually eventually fall off because there's just not enough content? That's the stuff that we have to see. And now we maybe can see a little bit more with Game Pass. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you all on the next video.